Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Glad to have you aboard this morning. A little bit more of a lively morning edition, one might say, compared to earlier this week on Thursday following the Game 1 loss. The Oilers bring home the series tied at 1 against the Vancouver Canucks. Games 3 and 4 coming up here Sunday for Game 3, as next week will get started just like that already. But for the Edmonton Oilers, obviously an overtime victory that is absolutely substantial when it comes to just where the Oilers are at, just what this Oilers team needs to do the rest of the way home, and just how bad the Oilers needed that victory against Vancouver last night. And I think quite clearly we'll explore that in today's thoughts is the Oilers didn't need that victory to even the series. They needed it for another reason, and we'll talk about that here in a matter of moments. But again, friends, if you are new to the channel, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button here. Last night was another great night in the live stream. Night before in Game 1 was absolutely fantastic as well, and I want you aboard for all the Oilers and Canucks coverage throughout this second round. But to expand on those thoughts from a few moments ago about the Oilers needing that victory, and it had nothing to do with the series. It had nothing to do with not going down 2-0, going home with a split, going home with home ice. It had nothing to do with that. The Oilers entering action, regular season playoffs combined, were 0-5. The Canucks were 5-0 against the Oilers. They were running show. And the Edmonton Oilers last night, here's the thing, didn't matter. Didn't matter if you won 6-1 or won the way you did off a defender's stick in overtime. The Oilers just simply needed to beat the Canucks for morale, for the simple fact that, hey, this year we can actually do that, right? Very simple. The Canucks, could have broke the Oilers back proverbially in Game 1 by coming back and really shocking them and winning 5 straight to start the regular season playoffs, and then the Oilers do get that seed doubt in their mind where it's like, oh, wow, maybe we just can't beat these guys. We've tried everything and they just keep winning. But instead, in Game 2, the Edmonton Oilers come up with a really dynamic game, I guess you could say. There was a lot of things better than Game 1, even to some extent if you're still blaming Stuart Skinner for this not being a victory by a large margin for the Oilers. Simply, Stuart Skinner was better, only allowing 3 goals as opposed to 5. And for the Oilers, the face-off circle got cleaned up. Yes, they still lost the battle at the end of the night, but it was a regulation victory in the face-off dot. I think 2, it was simply for the shots on goal. You saw the Oilers flash the browser ties. Saw the Oilers get up there 4-3. They were just blitzing up shots. I think at the end of the second period or at the end of the midway point of the second period, somewhere in there, had 13 shots, which is all they had in game number 1. So that was a nice welcome thing to see as an Oilers fan. And I think too, the other side is the defense really did a good job limiting chances against. I think, right, you see the 2 goals that beat the Oilers, the first one and the third one. Yes, the Elias Pettersson one. Did the Oilers give Stuart Skinner a chance to stop that puck? One might argue. The fact that he didn't move at all, one might argue is not too great. But again, the fact that the Oilers technically, even despite giving up the power play one-timer, were in position for the goaltender to have a chance. I'm not saying to make the stop. That's not what I'm asking. Just to have a chance to make the stop is a bright spot. And then Nikita Zadorov one, I'll let all the goalie experts, all the pundits talk about that one. There's the reverse RH or whatever they're talking about, RVH, whatever it is tonight. Again, I'm no goaltending specialist, and again, I don't try and understand hockey to that level because there's just way too much mind-melting stuff that goes into the technique that yours truly that never played hockey is just never going to understand, and B, just doesn't need to understand to fully comprehend a victory for the Oilers last night. So it's kind of one of those situations. By the end of the game, you're in overtime, you're like, hey, we've done enough to be here. Now we have a shot to actually win this thing. And the Oilers' overtime records, not so good over the past 3 years, right? I think the last major overtime victory for the Oilers was Game 4 against LA, and then you go back to Game 5 against the Calgary Flames, Connor McDavid, and that whole thing, because that was a thing, if you ask Calgary Flames fans. But yeah, just, right, is you'll take them however they come, you'll take whatever happens, and now the Oilers do, right, after beating the Canucks for the first time all season in regular season and Stanley Cup playoffs, go home technically and truly with home ice advantage in a best of 5 the rest of the way home. Now, here's the thing. The Canucks came with a pretty good effort in game 2, had a pretty good effort in game 1, right? I mean, better effort than the Oilers. And at times, right, in game 2, I think you could say the Canucks really had a couple of good shifts as well that the game could have gotten away from the Oilers. Oilers did a better job controlling it last night and really limiting stuff that could burn them. So I think game 3 is going to be not necessarily a fireworks game, but we started seeing some of those fireworks between the Canucks and Oilers in game 2. And definitely, as long as this series stays close in the middle part of the series, we could see some nasties that maybe we didn't see in that LA series. Maybe we have seen in the other 3 series across the NHL, but we haven't yet in the Vancouver Canucks Edmonton Oilers series. So looking forward to seeing how this one evolves, and obviously thanks to an Edmonton Oilers victory last night, which allows us to kind of keep it close, keep going, right? We're not talking about, oh, the world's over, we're down 2-0. We're right back in this thing. And that's the funniest part, is it takes a hop off a defender's stick, as it often does against us, but this time it goes for us and it goes back in the net. And I want to touch quickly here, because this is going to be a really unfortunate scenario. You watched Ian Cole very well struggle in game 1. In game 2, he's the culprit that puts it in his own net to end it in overtime. I don't know if anybody will want to be Ian Cole if the Oilers find a way to win this series, and game in, game out, they victimize Cole as they have through the first 2 games, because, oh boy, it is going to suck as a player on the Canucks to take that heat. As Oilers fans know well, right? We try and run Skinner out of town after every loss, ran Jordan Eberle out of town. We've ran more than our fair share of guys out of town, Mikko Koskinen over the years, right? Like, talk about whoever you want, Toby Reeder, talk about anybody, right? The Oilers fans have done that year in, year out, and the way this series is lining up for Ian Cole, Canucks fans might be looking for a little bit of get out of my city here if this playoff series doesn't go according to plan for them. So just a touch note on that, because I know it's something I mentioned. But for the Oilers, all in all, last night wasn't pretty, wasn't perfect, good enough, and you won. That's all that matters at the end of the day tonight, or as we go into tonight, a day off against the Vancouver Canucks. Thanks for being aboard. I've talked enough. My voice hurts again. We went late last night. We'll recover today. Be ready for game 3, 7 o'clock on Sunday. I am up on out of here.